Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar for Update 1, 2, and 3 schools. We're going to be talking about the Achievement Goals Update. And my name is Amy Siegel and I'm the Vice President here at ASA. I'm joined by Tina Weissman,
your school sports specialist, and Happy New Year, one and all.
Yeah. So we're, in the interest of starting on time and ending on time, we're going to go ahead and turn off our cameras and get going with this webinar. For anyone who's new to GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar, these are the panel controls. You can click the orange arrow to minimize the control panel and get it out of your way so you can see more of your screen. You can click it again to maximize so you have your controls back. There's a little hand icon. You can raise a hand and let us know that you have a question. We'll unmute you and let you ask your question. And you can also send a question privately. Just type that in and it'll send to Tina or I, whoever's not talking at the time, and we'll shoot you an answer. And if it's something that we feel like the whole group needs to hear about, we'll get that to the whole group. So those are the basic controls, and let us know if you have any questions.
So today, we're going to talk about Achievement Goals Update. We're going to briefly go over the pre-discussion tasks, the council discussion, the student body discussion, post-discussion tasks, and a summary of this month's work, and then, of course, looking ahead. Within that, we are going to start with those pre-discussion tasks. And it says this submission must meet criteria before the discussion. So remember that you need to update the achievement data that needs to meet criteria on your VTA process page before it will allow you to have that discussion, because you're not going to have the discussion unless you have the data. So if you bump your head against that, that's what's going on there.
So next we're going to talk about the council discussion. Tina and I will do the council discussion presentation so that you know what it is we're talking with your council about. And then we're going to go through opening the discussion, participating in the discussion and making sure that your council is participating, and then monitoring the discussion. And we'll show you the tools in there for that, the tools in the online system for that. So switching over to the council presentation. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Siegel. I'm the Vice President here at the American Student Achievement Institute, and I'm joined by Tina Weissman.
Hello, one and all. I'm Tina Weissman, Strategic Planning Specialist and seventh member of the team, maybe 17th member of the team. But anyway, just here to help.
And today we're going to present your council discussion for this month, and that is the Achievement Goals Update. So today's discussion, we have a big question. Given who we are now and our new student achievement data, what adjustments do we need to make to our goals?
So we're going to ask that you all answer these questions. In part one, you're going to review the updated achievement data. So I'm sure this data has either been given to you at an earlier time or you're probably looking at it right now. And of that, we're going to be asking, or your people there are going to be asking, what pleases you? So looking at the achievement data, what do you like? What looks good? You're also going to look at what disturbs you. And we need you to be brutally honest on that. What doesn't look right to you? And then let's start looking for achievement gaps. And some of you probably have done this in the past, so you know what you're looking for. If you're new, you're going to be looking between different ethnic groups. You can look at male, female. You're going to look at free and reduced as opposed to general ed, paid lunch, general ed, special ed. So just to see if there is a large gap in between those two. In part two, you're going to review and revise the current goals. So for each goal, you're going to indicate whether you're going to continue that goal next year. Because you remember now we're in the planning stage for the 2019-2020. Wow. SIP. So if you're going to continue the goal for the next year, if you have decided it's time to omit that goal, maybe something fell through, maybe you've accomplished it and it's already a part of your culture, and so it's time to move on. And then what revisions, if any, should be made to each of those individual goals for the next year. So always feel free to tweak as you go through there. And maybe something's changed a little bit, maybe some personnel, maybe some funding, this, that, whatever. That if you like the current goal, but you want to change it just a little bit because you've noticed that if you add a little something to it, it might make it better. That's the time to do that. And then in part 3, you're going to add any new achievement goals. And then in part 4, it's optional, but you could have any kind of additional thoughts, because we always want everybody to be able to come to the table and get their input.
And if you are watching this webinar online, excuse me, as part of your online discussion, the achievement data report is located at the top right hand of the page. You'll see a link under instructions. And so you can open that up. You can print it if you like, or just look at it online. So after today, really after the discussion is finished, the steering team, your steering team, will review your discussion. They're going to recommend goals for the coming year, and they're going to send you a copy of the goals that they've recommended and ask for your consensus. And by consensus, we mean, can everybody live with this and support it publicly? If there's something that you feel is very problematic, you'll want to get back in touch with your steering team right away and let them know that. But in general, you know, let them know if you can support this publicly, and if so, those will be your goals for the for next year's school improvement plan. If you have questions, please contact your school's council discussion point person. And if you're watching this online, you'll see the name and phone number and email address of your council discussion point person right above this video. If you're participating in person, then ask on your steering team member, or ask any of your steering team members. I'm sure they're there. So yeah, just make sure that you get your questions to that person. And if it's something that they have any trouble answering, they'll get in touch with us and we'll get back to them. So we just want to thank you for participating on your school's School Improvement Council and for participating in the discussion today.
There's a lot of good people there doing a lot of good hard work for the kids, so thank you all.
Okay, so that is our council discussion presentation. And now we're going to look at the online system, the discussion tools. I know for some of you, you've been using these quite a bit and for quite a while, but for our schools, for new steering team members, we like to go over these and make sure everybody knows all the features. So I'm in as one of our demonstration schools, and I'm here on our VTA process page. This school is an Update 3 school, so we're in Section 6. It might be different if you're Update 1 or Update 2, but you're going to want to scroll down to the Achievement Goals Update. It's a good idea while you're scrolling to make sure that all of your submissions have met criteria. And if you have any submissions that have not yet met criteria, you're going to want to make sure that you get those submitted and reviewed if anything needs revision or hasn't been submitted yet. And if you found yourself significantly behind, be sure to get in touch with Tina, and she can help you get a plan together to get your team back on task. So, but you want to get caught up because we're in the process now. We're kicking off writing our school improvement plan for next year. And so that starts this month with participating in this webinar, watching the council video and the steering team video. And then we suggest, especially if you're doing your discussions in person, that you distribute the achievement goals, and that is your report from your last plan, and distribute your achievement data report. We say it's a good idea to do those things ahead of time so that people have time to review before the meeting. If you remember from our council discussion, the achievement goals report is linked in the online discussion, and then all the goals are listed in the questions on the online discussion. So those things are included on the online discussion page. So really, they should have access to that. It might be a nice thing though, especially if you've got folks who maybe don't have access to printers, and some people don't these days, to print those things out. The achievement data report, as you know, can be pretty long, and it's great to be able to mark that thing up, put post-it notes and scribbles and everything else as you're going through that, so that it's a little easier to participate in discussion. So those tools are available, and those reports, they're right here. In step 6, we open the council discussion, and we click on the little envelope. Oops, I got locked out. Okay, so one of the things you're going to need to decide today is, are we having an in-person discussion or an online input only? Most schools, well, the way that this is set up, there's always online input. So if anybody can't attend your in-person meeting, they can still participate. We know it can be really hard to get teachers and parents and business people and everybody together at the same time. So we make sure that that's available. But if you're having an in-person meeting as well, I'm just going to fill this out and say that, yes, we're having an in-person meeting, the date for that, the time, and the location. And then we need to set a date for the online input to close. And you just need to make sure that you give yourself time. You want everybody to have time to participate, but you also want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to go through that participation, to have your student body meeting, which has to come after your council, or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, your student body meeting must come after your council meeting this time. So make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to accomplish the rest of the things that you need to accomplish before the due date. So we're going to say we're closing our input on January 23rd, and then we're going to send the invitation. Our page refreshes, and it lets us know that all of our folks, the steering team and the School Improvement Council, that they have all received their emails. You can always come back to this page if anybody lets you know that they didn't receive their email, and you can resend, or if they accidentally deleted it before they had a chance to participate in the discussion, you can always come back here and click the little envelope next to that person's name, and you're asked, are you sure you want to resend the invitation email to this person? And you say okay, and then that is sent. Okay. Going back to the process page, we'll scroll back down to the achievement goals update. So now our council discussion is open. Let's see our check mark. And so now we're in an important part where the steering team needs to monitor the discussion. We wanted to make that as easy as possible for you. The reason that we ask you to monitor, I'm going to say that I am Betsy Green, is to make sure that nothing inappropriate is happening in the discussion. As a steering team member, you have, it's hard to see here because nobody has commented yet, but you can delete comments that are made. You can also reply. And if you need to get, if things get off track, if let's say that somebody says, well, the reason our math scores are so bad is because our math teachers are terrible. And then it kind of launches into a discussion of terrible math teachers. You want to get that refocused, because those things can are not always productive. Actually, usually aren't productive. So, you know, it would be time to kind of, with your comments, get people back on topic. And you also just want to make sure that people are engaging in this. And so this is for steering team member. It's their view, and they can chime in as needed. Going back to the process page, in that step 7, there's also a little info icon under reports. And that'll let you know who has, or what kinds of people on your council have participated. So if you're doing an online discussion only, or you know that only teachers were able to come to your in-person meeting, and you want to make sure that parents are also participating, you can look on here and see that parents are, have had 0 participation. What you can do is remind people, and so you can send an email to the council members who have not yet participated, and you just click on that, and you get, we always want to remind you to put people's email addresses in the blind carbon copy field. And if you're, I don't know if this is still true, but it used to be in Outlook, they wanted semicolons instead of commas, so we give you that little option there. But then you can copy these email addresses and paste them into an email and just send a reminder and let folks know that if they need their link resent, that you can certainly do that, and to please get in touch. So particularly the council discussion point person, this is an important tool for you if you're using the online discussion and not relying on everybody coming to the in-person meeting. So after the council discussion window closes, you're going to need to do your council discussion summary. And we give you the text boxes for this so that you can summarize for each point. At the top, please note that you can see the breakdown of people in the online discussion. If you're having an in-person discussion, you're going to need to have a good count of school personnel, parents, community, and other people who come. And that's just so that Tina has a good idea when she's reading your comments that you're getting participation. And if you're not, she might have some ideas for helping you get more participation from your council.
And if you can really take attendance, that really, really helps, because a lot of times I'll see that the attendance is blank. And so then I really have no way of knowing for anybody that was there in person what's going on. If they do it online, I'm going to see it because I look at that chart that Amy just looked at. So if you have an in-person meeting, it would be really helpful to you and me both if you check the attendance and how many in each group was there.
There you go. All right, so those are the discussion tools. After, like I said, you'll enter your summary and then submit that for review. And that's your first submission this month. All right, we'll return to our presentation window.
And I'll turn down all my settings on my phone. You all just heard sound like I was practicing my guitar. Sorry about that. Okay, student body discussion. This, as Amy said, must come after the council discussion this time. So make sure that you don't have it until you've had that council discussion. And there again, remember, and I know I sound like a broken record on this, but please, please, please include all the students. A lot of you are doing a fantastic job of that this year, better than I've seen in ages. But and if you're not including them for whatever reason, which really think that out, why you're not including people, but make sure that they at least know what's going on, because you can't get any kind of buy-in whatsoever if they don't know what's going on to begin with. So, and there again, the person that you might think is the most likely to have a really good idea might have the best idea. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that all students in some way get to participate. Okay. Here is a student body discussion, a worksheet that you can use. And you can see here, and I'm going to kind of squint at this, Amy, so it's a little bit blurry on mine, but I'll do the best I can. But you have a hard copy of this that you can print out as well, to those of you watching this. So what you're going to do you're going to add.
Let me show where they can get that. I want to make sure, since that is a little, in step 9 on the student body discussion summary, the very first thing is a tool that lets you download that. And so you'll definitely be able to see that better. The instructions for it, you can see on the side of the screen here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to add the goals that receive the most agrees during the council discussion to the goals update discussion prompt. So now you see why you needed that council discussion first. Then you're going to break the students into small groups and you're going to distribute the discussion prompt. Then you're going to ask the students to review the goals being considered and check the goals they believe should be addressed by the school in order to help students become better prepared for their futures. And then you're going to give students a chance to discuss their options and ask them to agree on 1 to 3 goals that they believe the school should address. And I know when you first look at this, more than likely you're going to think, we don't have time to do this. But think about where it talks about in number 3, because you're asking the kids to check the goals they believe should be addressed by the school in order to help them become better prepared for their futures. That's buy-in. And if you can have this discussion and give it the time that it needs, you're going to get a lot of buy-in from this, because these kids maybe that haven't been paying that close of attention to the process, once they see how it absolutely 100% relates to them, then you may get a whole lot better participation overall. And you can always reflect on that in the classroom then and say, you remember when we had that discussion, you said this would help you become better prepared, so let's go with it. So, use that, but always make sure that you take the time on this one, because this is a big one. Okay, then we're going to get into the post-discussion tasks. So you're going to write the council discussion summary and the student body discussion summary. You're going to update the focus areas, which formerly known as the PAIs. So the PAIs are now focus areas. We didn't do that, so please don't call and yell at me. That's what they're called now, they're focus areas. And then you're going to update your SMART goals, which are still SMART goals. And then on the council consensus stat point person, you're going to seek consensus. And you can do that either through post-a-mail or email. And then you ask the council members, can you support these goals? So you're going to give them the final tally of everything that came back, put it together, send it out to them, say, can you live with it and support these goals? And then if there's a little bit of editing that needs to be done, you do that, and then you would submit to me for review.
So let's look at that online. Of course, we have tools for everything we ask you to do. Okay, so the first thing is updating the focus areas. And again, you're taking the input you receive from your council and your student body, and this is where the steering team needs to get together and talk about this first. But you need to look and see, are these focus areas still our big, broad areas that we need to improve? So you can make changes to these if the grade levels are no longer relevant, or we need to adjust the focus, whatever it is that needs to be edited. You can also delete. So if let's say that our language arts, we've just really hit that and that area is just humming along, but we need to add something else. We have the delete icon over here. You just click the X and that will remove that focus area for you. And if you need to edit, say that we've done a really good job with kindergarten, first and second grade, so we're gonna really think more about our upper grades, and we want to save this. And so now our grades are edited. So that's how we edit focus areas. I'd rather not delete, but I think you all know how our buttons tend to work. When we have fewer than 3 focus areas. Up here, you'll be able to add a new focus area if need be. But right now, because we only allow for 3 of them in the system, again, these are so broad that you know, your SMART goals fit under them. So we only look at 3 broad areas at most, and then we're going to get very specific in our SMART goals. So we turn to the process page. And we'll look at our SMART goals. So we do group the SMART goals underneath our focus areas. So we list the focus area on the first tab. If we only had 1 or 2 focus areas, then we would only have 1 or 2 tabs here. When we see 3 tabs, that indicates we do have 3 focus areas. We want to make sure that we're going over our SMART goals on each of those. So you can have as many SMART goals as you want. You're always going to be able to add a SMART goal. And these are the things that if we address them, so you know, in this case, we're looking at math. And so what we've done is honed in on the math indicators that will allow the broad area to improve. So we're getting, this is where we break it down into much smaller targets, and we start looking at very specific grade levels and student groups and very specific, you know, subject areas, getting down really to that indicator. Tina is a great person if you have any questions about laser focusing your SMART goals, and you'd like her to look at some of your data and some of the feedback that you receive from your council. She's a great person to talk to about this, and the reason why is she did a super job of this when she was a principal at Otwell, and this has really become a passion for Tina. So she's a good person to touch base with and check in with. If you feel like what you're doing isn't working, maybe she can help you find areas to hone in on. So again, to edit a SMART goal, we just click that edit icon, make any needed changes, and click the save button at the bottom. And if we need to delete a SMART goal, we just click the delete button. We need to add a SMART goal, we just click the add and then go through the form. And you want to make sure that you've got some historical data. Those should be in your achievement data reports, or it could be in school records if it's not something that is showing up in your achievement data report, but it's a pretty big report. We should have it there, and given that you're alumni schools, you should have a few years worth of data to draw from. And then you're going to want to make sure you set your targets. And the default year for the target is 2019, but really, I mean, you're probably looking more at 2020. So just be careful with your years there. And we do let you, though we try to make our targets, you know, really focusing on short term on these SMART goals. You can add a few years worth of data if you'd like to do that, and that way you know what you're shooting for, and as everybody reads your plan and gets, you know, focused on this, they'll know what you're shooting for. And then vision data, if you remember going back to your vision statement, I think most schools are looking at 100% of students reaching their benchmarks. So think about your vision data and put that in so that we keep striving, we keep working toward those things. And then if your school has, it depends on your building setup, if your school has external expectations that relate to the SMART goal, you'll just want to check those off. And you just click save when you're done. And in this case, I didn't fill anything in, so we'll look at that delete button, delete this one, and ask me if I'm sure I want to, and I say okay, and now it's gone. So that's editing for your SMART goals. When your steering team has updated the focus areas and SMART goals, then you can review the achievement goals report. Let me just click on that, the report icon, and open that up, and that'll show you everything that you've just entered. This is a good time for the steering team to look this over and make sure this makes sense, that it's reflective of what our council and our kids were talking about, in their discussions, but also that it's kind of gone through, you know that steering teams, you all are usually the experts in your building on school improvement, so you're gonna, you know, make sure that those things make good sense. And if you need to make adjustments after you look at the report, go ahead and do that. You can always come back to the report anytime. And once you have it where you feel it's ready to go out to the council for consensus, we have a tool in step 13, this info icon in the tools column, where you can get your council roster. And we give you the opportunity to contact the council by mail if everybody has put in their mailing address, or by email. And you can send your report by email. Let me show you a quick trick on that. So again, mail, you're going to get basically an Excel file, or a file that you can import into Excel and make mailing labels, or you can use email to send it out. So on your report, let's look at that. If it's something you really would rather send by email instead of printing this out and, you know, having to worry about postage and envelopes and everything, the thing that you can do in most browsers is go up to your file menu and go to print. And when you go to print, if you come down here, this is in Firefox, so it can be a little different in each browser. You can always Google how do I make a PDF from Chrome, or how do I make a PDF from Safari or Internet Explorer. So in Firefox, you come down here and you look at PDF, and you can click on Save as PDF, and you just, sorry about that, go ahead and save. And now if I go to my desktop, which might take a second, now I have that my goals report as PDF. And because I didn't pay much attention to my settings, it's in landscape, which is probably not what I want. So yeah, you just pay attention to your settings and see what information you want to include on that. And again, you know, Google those directions and they will get you sorted out. Okay, let me see if there's anything else in our online system. Oh, so after that, yeah, you're going to send out to everybody, get consensus, and then we give you in step 14 the edit link again. If there need to be changes to your SMART goals, if somebody says, no, I absolutely cannot support that as a SMART goal, or, you know, I think that our target for that is just too low, and, you know, if people have significant problems, you might want to make some changes. And so you can do that in step 14. And then when you have everything where you've settled on it, you go ahead and submit your focus areas and SMART goals for review. And just click on submit, find your person, and submit. So returning to our slides.
And to our summary of work. Point positions responsible for work this month. We'll talk about that briefly, and then we'll also talk about the steering team decisions to be made now. Okay, point positions responsible for work this month. You see, actually responsible through October through March, because these are going to be your council and your student body discussions. So these are the main things. You're going to facilitate the council discussions, bring the council to consensus, and then facilitate the student body discussions. So that's, of course, October through March, and right smack dab in the middle with January. So there's going to be some steering team decisions to be made. Among these, and you may think of some other ones, but I agreed with Amy earlier. She said, I probably have more, but I've run out of spots to put them. So you may think of some too. Who will make sure the achievement data report met criteria? And remember, that's the first step this time. Nothing's going to move until you get that turned in and it meets criteria. Save yourself some time and double check that document before you submit it. Always remember, don't forget the mastery of standards from the I-STEP. You'll need those at grade level. Don't forget promotion rates. Don't forget subject areas. I know some of the lower grades don't always cover science and social studies, but we've kind of built a pattern with that, so I know who to look for and who not to look for. Anything like that, if you have any questions, ask before you send if you want to, and then maybe we can save you some time that way. Next, you'll have the council discussion. Is it going to be online only or also in person? Things have slowed down now, but wherever you're at, you know what your weather is. And it seems like, I don't know, right now where I live, it's great outside, but usually during the first month or the first week of January, we have snow or ice. So kind of watch your weather, and then you can decide if you want it online only or also in person. You're going to decide when, who will open it, who will monitor it, who will facilitate, who will summarize, and then who will enter the online information and submit that. With your student body discussions, how will all the students be involved? Who will facilitate, who will summarize, and who will enter online? And more I'm seeing that these are done in the individual classrooms. That's great. Thanks to all of the teachers who do that, because that covers a lot of ground in a short amount of time, and that's good common sense to do that. So kudos to everyone who's working with you in your schools. When will the steering team meet to update the focus areas? Used to be PAIs, now focus areas, and the SMART goals based on the discussions? Who will edit the focus areas and SMART goals online? And then who will seek the council consensus? So several little odds and ends there. That's really going to be kind of well, it's not really odds and ends. It's a big deal for this month. January is not a month of lull when it comes to this process. So you're building the foundation. As you know, you've done this before, but you're really building that strong foundation for not only keeping this year's SIP going, but really getting next year's SIP up and ready to go in a very strong way.
In fact, let's look at that. We're going to look ahead and also do a little bit of review on the vision to action process now that we're in second semester. So, so far this year, you've updated your organizational structure. You have, for schools in Update 3, you've gone over your vision and made any updates needed to that. You have put vision data in your vision, and you have also collected current data. And during first semester, you've also been implementing your plan from last year. So you've been working on action. And we always talk about how this is a continuous improvement process. And so after action, we go right back and we go back to look at data. And the goals are really sandwiched between what's our vision and what's our current data. And what goals do we need to set so that we can get to our vision? We can get our current data to our vision data. So this is where things get concrete here in January. Next month, we're going to be looking at root causes. In March, we select interventions. And in April, we plan those interventions out so that they're ready to implement in the new year. And we really try to get you all finished up by the end of April so that you're not trying to write your plan while you're also dealing with the end of your year. So I know it can feel like we've compressed this a little bit, or it might be tempting to let things slide, but we really try to keep you on the timeline because we know when you stay on the timeline, you have more time to write a solid school improvement plan that it will actually help your student data. And that's the whole goal of this. There's no point in doing all this work unless we're focused on improving our data for our kids so that they can be more successful in life. So in the spirit of that, Tina's going to be sending out those friendly reminders to make sure that you're ready as each step builds on the one before it, that you're ready to take those steps and stay on the timeline. So remember that those are friendly reminders. I know some of us think of them as nag notes, but they are really meant to be a helpful thing. We know that you don't log into your process page every single day. I don't think most of you log into your process page every single day. So those,
Not expected.
pardon?
Not expected.
Right, not expected. And that's why we send those, so that if something has fallen behind or something slipped through the cracks, that you get a reminder and are prompted as a steering team. Those do go out to all the steering team members, and you're prompted to look at that and get caught up, so that when it's time for the next webinar, you have things in place and you're ready to go. So, friendly reminders. So, do we have any questions? If anybody would like to raise a hand, we can unmute you. If you have questions you'd like to send, I don't, it doesn't look like anybody has sent any questions. I think a lot of us are in the habit of waiting until we start going through that list of decisions that need to be made, and that's when we email and call Tina. So
that's okay too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just fine. We just like to make sure that if anybody does have anything, if we went through something too quickly or there's something you'd like to see, that you can ask it now, and anybody else who has the same question would benefit. Okay.
You're either calm or done for the day. So that's okay either way.
Either way.
If you need help, you know how to get into touch with me. So don't forget the 5-minute rule. I know there are days 5 seconds is too long, and that's okay too. Number's still the same. The email's still the same. Sometimes it gets a little sketchy with being able to contact me by phone just immediately. It gets a little bit busier as the season goes on, but I'm constantly scanning those emails, and sometimes I can kind of double duty on that. So if you want to use emails as your first line of defense, that would be great. And I know I can get an answer to you, back to you much faster. So it's just wiseman@asainstitute.org, and I'm always watching for those, and be happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you all so much for being on the webinar today. And again, anything we can do to help, please let us know.